How do you help people really, embrace this confidence and maybe kind of addressing the two thieves to say, listen, everything that you've done will help propel you in the future when the future is also scary and kind of hold us back in some ways?
Yeah, I think what you kind of just referenced a little bit is what we talk around the time continuum. So there are really three spots in time. There's past, there's present, and there's future. And really, the twin thieves are rooted in our brain for survival mechanisms. But really, it's rooted because even back in the caveman era, they were worried about judgment. Because if you got kicked out of the tribe, Bradley, what would happen back then in the caveman era? If you got kicked out, you weren't good enough to be a part of the tribe anymore. What would happen?
I believe it would involve a saber-toothed tiger. That's right.
Absolutely, right? You wouldn't survive, right? So
Right.
fitting in and blending in and not standing out from the crowd was a survival mechanism. And our brains still have that survival mechanism in us today. And those social threats, there's no saber-toothed tiger, but it's still a social threat sometimes, right? And a lot of times we're constantly predicting to protect because our brain's number one job is just keep us alive. That's what it wants to do, keep us alive. So we're constantly predicting things. And we have a strong negativity bias because of that, right? It helps keep us alive. So I'm getting back to your question, if you stay with me. Back in the caveman era, right? It was easier to remember, don't go by that cave because there's a saber-toothed tiger. Don't eat that berry because it's poisonous. Don't put your hand in the fire because you're going to get burned. We're not wired to remember some of the good things. We're not necessarily wired to remember the beautiful butterflies and the rainbows because it didn't help us stay alive. It didn't help us survive. So going back to your spot, the time continuum, if we are constantly focused on the past, right, a lot of times we're wrapped up because we have a strong negativity bias on all the regrets, maybe the shame, those feelings, right? That's where maybe some sadness, some despair comes to the root. And if we're focused on the future, that's another part of the time continuum, right? It's a lot of the what ifs. It's the stress. It's the anxieties, right? And the best version of ourselves is our ability to be in the present. What can I control right now? Because you can look ahead 10 years from now, Bradley, but there's going to be so many variables that you can't even predict right now. So why are we getting so wrapped up in it? We talk about worrying and stressing about the future is like sitting in a rocking chair. Right? You can sit in a rocking chair all day long, but you're going to be in the same spot. You can sit there and worry and stress about all the what ifs 10 years from now, but you know what? You're going to be in the same spot right now. So what can you control right now and be present? So I think that's probably the toughest thing for people to do. And we're getting pulled in so many directions with our cell phones and our days. We're all over the place. But how do we just zone in and say, what's in my control right now? What can I do right now that's going to impact a bright future 10 years from now?